All right. Hello, Internet. First off, I want to say, I know the camera angle on this is not good. On my camera angle is not okay. I had to use my phone because my GoPro decided to die and never turn on again. So thank you, GoPro. That's really amazing. So I used a Temu 8-inch tripod little thing. It was not good. Since then I have a new camera. I have new everything, so it's better. Anyway, you get what you pay for from Temu. Let's put it that way. This video is about me and Matt. Matt is a very good friend of mine. I met him the first year that I moved to Austin, and we've worked on countless videos, and he's done voiceover work for me. Amazing dude. One of the coolest dudes you'll ever meet in your life. Smart, lot of life experience under his belt. And yeah, every time we're together, it's usually just a good time, a lot of laughs. There's really no topic that is off the table for us. And yeah, enjoy the video.
Yeah, we can all do the weekend. Weekend, I'm here for you. Weekend, I'm here for you.
Love it. All right. So how do we do this? How does this work? Do we do an introduction?
I think that's a good idea. I think. Well, let's talk real quick. Let's
Okay.
just get the sounds right.
Okay.
Get everything going.
All right.
Knock the cobwebs off from yesterday. But yeah, if you want to like give some background to who you are, what you do,
Okay.
just let people know that you're Matt and this is what I do.
Okay. Let's see. Hello. My name is Matthew. I try to live the life that I foresaw for myself a while ago and then lost my way. So what that looks like now is working as a service and engagement team lead at Target, managing a sober living house, and trying to give back to all those people who supported me through a lengthy period of darkness, and have still been by my side. Those people saw potential in me, which I refused to see for myself. And now that that is starting to make sense, it's a wonderful, beautiful thing, and I'm happy to be a part of it, but still a lot of growth to take place and a lot of development as well. But the journey of recovery has been one which I could not have imagined for myself, and so I'll continue to try and stay out of the way.
Yeah.
In a nutshell.
Amazing. No, that's you, man.
So, yeah.
And honestly, you are my favorite person that I've ever known.
Oh, well, thank you.
Seriously, that meeting you was like an exhale of like, okay, there's some good people out here, you know. I've met some very just depressing, kind of not lost, but just like they don't know where they're even supposed to go, so that they don't know that they're lost. It gets muddy really quick.
I think that not even I think, I know that now I realize that there are people that come into my life who are meant to stay. And what's neat is that realization comes to me without me even realizing it. Like, plenty of acquaintances, but the people who stick around, and it's not through any extra work on my part, are the people I'm meant to have in my life.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
The
right?
ride or dies.
Yeah, yeah. And again, it doesn't. So, like, let's say from a relationship standpoint, girl, boy, boy, girl, boy, boy, girl, girl, however you define that. A lot of times my experience has been I feel the need to do extra to keep someone around. Not that that's healthy,
Well, yeah.
but that's been my experience. And the ride or dies, to use your colloquialism, which I love, are the ones who I don't need to do extra work and will always be there.
Yeah.
Very much like a comfortable shirt. I might not wear it for 3 or 4 days, but when I put it back on, it doesn't require any work for it to be just as comfortable as it always was.
You're like, there it is.
There it is, right? And that's almost an intrinsic thing. Like, it's just like, oh yeah, that just makes sense. But I didn't used to be able to figure that out. I had a lot of people in my life that I tried to keep close for all the wrong reasons. So now that I have the opportunity to keep people close for the right reasons,
Yeah.
I realize I don't need to do the work for those people to stick around. Because if I'm being myself, that's something that they want to be around, as opposed to me trying to portray a character that I think they would like in order to keep them around.
Yeah, I think a majority of people have that kind of mindset of, let me put on this show so you think I'm cool, and then like you'll want to hang out with me, and then now I'm a completely different person.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or the expectations are different
Yeah.
around what you do. How you act.
Yes. Gosh, and it's so difficult, right? Because I find myself sometimes acting in a manner which I'm like, oh, why are you doing that? That's not who you are. You're doing that because you feel like that's the way you should act. And then it's like, okay, full stop. Let's not do that. But going back to those people in your life, I want those people around because they're going to be the people that are like, hey, you're kind of not acting like yourself. And it's like, oh, dang. Right? But I would love to sit here and say I'm self-aware enough to realize that I'm doing that, but I'm not always.
Well, plus different situations, different people around you. There's different energy, and it's easy to like,
oh yeah,
kind of just go with the wave of
Absolutely.
it. Just like, oh yeah, are we acting a little crazy right now? Let's go a little crazy.
This sounds like a ride I want to be on until you realize that's really not the ride I thought it
And
was
then you're
going to
like,
be.
yeah, like a month later, you're like, whoa, what the? I want off.
Can I please get off?
You're like, stop the ride.
Can I please let me off?
Get this thing off me.
Yes.
So I wanted to just ask you about kind of how has your day-to-day changed for the better in the past like year and a half or so? Like, how has your routine changed you for the better?
We can actually say 2 years and 24 days.
That's right. Yeah. 2 years and 24 days later.
The big thing at the beginning was recognizing emotion and how emotion impacted my day, for lack of a better way to put it. I spent a long time trying not to deal with anything that wasn't happy, right? So what that looked like for me was I didn't like the way that interaction made me feel, that bit of news made me feel, that person at work made me feel, anything like that. I don't feel like dealing with that. So that would mean an immediate pivot to fix how I felt. So that resulted in a long time of just not dealing with anything like that. So given the opportunity to understand, okay, I feel fill in the blank, sad, mad, glad, happy, depressed, lost, anything like that. And then understanding, well, why do I feel like that? And trying to figure out what was the impetus that made me feel that sort of way. And inevitably, I will have had something to do with why I feel that way, right? And that's an important thing to understand. I should say, for me, that's an important thing to understand. What was my part in why I feel this way? So now that I've figured out what my part was, if I need to apologize to somebody for my actions or for the way that or if I need to figure out what I need to do different the next time I encounter that situation, to try and ensure that maybe I don't feel that way. Also, maybe that's just the way I'm going to feel. There's nothing I can do to change that, but let me go ahead and process what that feels like and then figure out how to change that feeling moving forward so I don't continue to feel that way. I think day to day probably is just trying to be able to, you had said earlier, which I thought was a really good way to put it, let me step outside of me and try and look at how am I acting right now? And do I like the way that I'm acting right now, or do I not act the way that I'm acting right now? Most of the time it's, I don't like the way that I'm acting right now. How can I fix that? So that's a really long-winded way of saying stay present.
Yeah.
And try and make those changes in real time.
Oh, that's hard, but yeah.
Very much so, right? But you and I are talking, and I'm frustrated about something that has nothing to do with you, but you happen to talk to me after that frustration occurred.
Right.
And I take it out on you. I then go, I really didn't like the way that I talked to you, and you really weren't the reason that I talked to you that way. It was something else. I need to grab you and say, hey, I'm sorry for the way that I acted. That was not aimed at you. I was frustrated about something that came before. I took it out on you. That was not acceptable. Please accept my apology. That needs to happen instantaneously.
Okay, yeah.
Because if I let that sit and float, you're also impacted by my actions, because you're like, well, where did that come from?
Yeah, especially if like somebody blows up about a very small issue. Like growing up, my family was kind of like that. A little bit like that. It
Right.
wasn't like, nobody was hitting each other or anything, but
Not physically,
Not physically. There you go.
emotionally.
Yeah, emotionally, I think a lot of us got beat up. You know, got beat down a little bit.
Yeah.
But no, like, example. I was grabbing something off the deck, right? The deck was right next to the kitchen. My dad's in the kitchen doing something. And I walk out there, I open the screen door, I go grab the thing, and I hear, close the fucking door, you know, like really aggressive. And I was like, I'm going 2 feet out the door. I come back in, I close it. I'm like, he's like, you're gonna let fucking flies in? Like, he kind of like went off. And I was like, I can't even open a door right. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, in my head, I was like, I can't even open a door. I'm stupid, man. But in actuality, he was pissed about probably a fly that was in his room keeping him up at night, and he has to go to work at 4 o'clock in the morning. So, yeah, I'd be a little on edge about flies.
Right. And that's the thing. That's, to your point, think about how much that happens all the time.
Yeah, with not just like a little problem. Maybe it is a big problem, but not right now.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be.
Somebody yelling at someone about a situation. Most of the time, they're probably not yelling at that person because of that situation. They're yelling at that person because it's a buildup of things which have come before that. And that person standing in front of them happened to provide an outlet
And they're like,
for them to let go.
I've been hanging on to this.
Yeah, and I'm going to let it go, right? One of the things I think, if everyone gave themselves the grace of going, I shouldn't have acted that way. How can I try and make this right? We probably find ourselves in a much less stressful, just world environment.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's become so easy to just fly off at the handle, and then there's no accountability that needs to be taken for that. Oh, I'm never going to see that person again. Pfft, right? And also, there's no feeling of the need to take accountability. I just made poor Jenny cry, but whatever. She just works at so-and-so.
Yeah.
She shouldn't have said that to me.
There you go. She shouldn't have said that. When did words
Yeah.
dictate
My
anything a
actions.
part of you? Anything. Like, even your thoughts. Why would they say that? Who cares?
Sure.
That's a word. You're going to let a word ruin your day? That's sad.
Completely. And of course, I was going to say preface, postface all of the stuff that I've just said with the complete admission that I have a lot of work to do when it comes to things like that. As I mentioned, what I'm trying to do is realize if I've acted in that manner quickly so I can try and rectify the situation as fast as possible. But gosh knows I'm still very much a work in progress.
Yeah.
I would love to sit here and tell you that what we're talking about does not apply to me at all.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a complete lie.
Yeah. Well, I've yet to meet somebody that has their shit together. Like, all together.
Right. No, that's a good point.
You know, there's always like a branch that's like, whoa, dude. You gonna trim that?
that tree looks so good, but goodness,
The front part of your tree, amazing, man. The back part, whoa. You need to hire somebody.
yeah.
So another thing that I wanted to kind of just touch on, basically is like, why do you think people depend on drugs to get through life? Like, not just addicts, not just people that are drawn to drugs. I'm talking about like
Normies.
the average human being. You know, they're still taking there's medications, and you know, there's a lot of drugs out there that are legal
Yeah.
that people depend on, why do you think people feel the need to depend on a drug to get through life?
So for clarification purposes, we're not talking about things that, for the most part, have been prescribed that are necessary.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Like if, let's say my friend has some Adderall. It's legal to him. He can have it. But let's say once in a while you buy some from him just to utilize. And then you're like, I like that. And then maybe you go get a prescription for Adderall. Again, like
Yeah. I think,
insert any drug here.
sure. I think it boils down to a feeling of inadequacy to deal with whatever life is putting in front of you. As in, I can't do this by myself. I need help. Right? That's just a very basic description of it. For me, it was, I can't, as I talked about, I can't handle the emotions, or more to the point, I don't want to handle the emotions. I want to change the way that I feel right now because I don't like the way that I feel right now. I don't want to examine why it is that I feel the way that I feel right now. I don't want to examine what made me feel this way and what do I need to do to fix the way that I feel. I want to just change it.
Yeah, because it's so easy.
Drugs make it easy to do that. I have a test to study for tomorrow. I need to really study hard. What can I put in me? Maybe it's caffeine, so simple as that. Most of the time, what you and I are probably alluding to is something a little more substantial.
Yeah.
That's going to keep me up and hyper-focused so I can learn all this material and then go in and ace my test tomorrow. I need to chill right now, and I don't like the idea of just chilling. What can I do to enhance the chill? Right? And probably on a deeper level, we don't like just dealing with the way that we feel just the way that we feel.
Yeah.
I'm not comfortable in my own skin.
And that's a great segue. Because I have another thing that I wanted to touch on. Who has helped you the most to become okay in your skin? And it
Oh, that's a really good question.
it could be yourself, your friend. It could be a combination of everything. But who has really shined through it all?
So I'll start with my parents,
Okay.
because even during my dark times, my mom, bless her heart, and my dad as well, were just trying to get me to realize that they didn't have any expectations for me. All the expectations that I had heaped upon myself that I was never going to achieve kept pushing me further and further down within myself, right? No one else was saying, well, you don't have the house, you don't have the car, you don't have the girl, nobody else was doing that. I was doing that to myself. And they kept just saying things like, all we want you to do is be happy. And I would take that to mean happiness looks like this. And they were like, no, actually happiness looks like, are you content with yourself? And they, bless their heart, they tried and tried and tried. And it took me getting sober to realize what they'd been trying to help
they
me
meant.
achieve
Yeah.
this whole time. So it starts with them. My sister, my brother-in-law, my nephews as well, just continuing to support me, even though I'd fallen from grace, so to speak, and not being like, well, we're done with you.
Right.
Look at yourself. Instead of being like, okay, there's a redemption story here. There's
Yeah,
some,
like,
there's
what's
some
next?
forgiveness.
Yeah.
You know, how are you going to pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and keep moving? And then people such as yourself, people who've come into my life, who are still in my life, who, bless them, don't have any expectations of me other than to just keep being me.
Yeah.
Those people are vital, because it's not like, oh, hey, dude, you'll never guess what I did the other day. Aren't I cool? Instead, it's, hey, how you been? Oh, great. I'm glad to hear you're doing good. Keep it up. That's such a breath of fresh
It
air.
is. It is. And
Right.
that's why, again, like, me and you, we could talk all day.
Yeah.
It's fine. There's
Uh-huh.
never like a moment where I'm like, yeah, but like, I did this. What do you think of that? Like, what do you, huh?
Yeah.
I'm pretty okay, right?
Well, and you and I have talked about this a lot. Society tells us that we need to set unrealistic expectations for ourselves in order to be okay with ourselves. And that's a shame, because no one should be forced to feel like if they haven't achieved this, that they're less than what they could be.
Well, especially with social media, like, you're looking at people do things, right?
Yeah.
You're looking at somebody that wakes up and they're like, today I'm going to go trail running, swim with a dolphin, and rock climb to end it all. And it's like, okay. And then they post that and you're like, that's their life. They do that all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're like, you're stuck in this kind of like cycle
Yeah.
of like, well, this person's doing that and this person's doing that. And look at this guy, he talks about his whole routine. He wakes up at 5 a.m. and he goes running and he does this and he showers and he does this and he eats this and he eats that. It's like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
But that's not your life.
Yeah.
Do you want to do that? Do you want to go rock climbing? Okay, go do that. You don't need to post it though.
Right.
You don't need to post it up and be like, I rock climb.
I don't need your approval to feel that I'm accomplishing something.
And you
I'm
shouldn't-
sorry, I shouldn't
There you go.
need your approval.
Yeah. And you shouldn't be posting stuff to make other people
Feel less
envious
Yeah,
and
yeah.
make you feel like, oh, you're less than. Look what I'm doing.
Because at the end of the day, I think the thought is, I'm just really excited about what I'm doing. But there's got to subconsciously be I'm better than you because I'm doing this thing.
Yeah. Well,
I would
feel that.
love to think that that's not the motivation. And I would venture to say that that's not the surface level of motivation for doing it. But there's probably something under the surface that's making them go, I'm going to look really awesome for this. Why would you post every time you eat something? Why would you put a picture up there?
I'm just saying, when I go on a social media app,
Yeah.
that's the tone that like I ingest.
Yes.
Is like, look at me. I'm so cool.
Yeah.
Don't you want to be like me? And then you close your phone and you're like, damn, I'm not doing anything.
Yeah. I
I'm
must
working.
not be accomplishing anything in life.
I'm just working.
Yeah.
But of course, there's people out there that have different mindsets. Like me and you definitely have different mindsets as far as, we're not going to look at something and be like, oh my God, I need to go out there and run a marathon. really, we're like, yeah, but like, I'm fine.
I'm fine. Yeah.
Mentally, I'm on the incline. I'm doing my own rock climb. And I hope somebody like that
Yeah.
also does their own rock climb emotionally.
Yeah. Well, and right, there's the descriptor rock climb or swim with the dolphins. That's really up to whatever your definition of swimming with the dolphins is.
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe literally you're swimming with dolphins. Well, what about figuratively if I'm swimming with dolphins?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a really awesome experience. What about figuratively? I climbed a heck of a set of rocks today and I got to the top and I'm still standing.
Yeah, maybe every day you look at work like Everest.
Yeah.
Like you're like, okay, we're here today. It's going to be a rough one, but I got my climbing gear.
Oxygen levels are going to be really difficult when I get to the top. But then I'm going to be able to turn around, look down and go, look what I accomplished today.
Yeah.
What a great way to look at it. And I would be remiss if I didn't go back to I didn't mention all the people that I was in treatment with and all my counselors and everything who kind of started the process of me realizing that I could be okay with who I am.
Kind of lit the fire a little bit.
Absolutely. And said, you don't have to prove anything to anyone.
Right.
And you can still be okay with that. And it was like, what?
Okay.
Yeah, right? Like, are you serious? You know, and then to be embraced by people to be like you said, we think you're great and we don't care what your background is and we don't care if you don't have a this. And it was like, oh, seriously? Oh, wow. Okay. Which then gives me the opportunity to try and make sure that I'm not ever passing judgment on somebody else for anything.
And that's a
because I don't have the right to do that.
Yeah, and that's a big one. Only because for me, I pass judgment on myself way too much. Way too much. Like the moment I wake up, I'm like, you're wearing that, bro? You know what I mean? Like, I guess I've been tough on myself mentally. Like, I'm just inside my head, like, you piece of garbage, you. But really, I need to just tell myself to shut up. I think that's the only prescription for that is like, shut up.
We will bully ourselves in a manner which we would never dream of to do to any other person.
Yeah.
The way that I talk to myself, I would never say that to anyone.
No.
But it's perfectly okay for me to belittle myself,
Right?
for me to chop myself down, for me to do all that
To
stuff.
treat yourself with zero respect.
Right.
And expect yourself to stand up and be like, all right, well, let's get the rest of this day started.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, you just destroyed yourself.
Yeah.
Cut yourself at the knee to start the day.
And how are you okay with that? And it's like, I know that I'm doing that. The next level or the next step of the journey will be figuring out how to not do that so much.
Yeah, I've definitely tried. But at this point, I think I'm just going to start saying shut up. Just shut up. I think that's the only thing.
I'm good enough. I'm strong enough.
Not even that. Just be
and
like,
gosh darn it, people like me. No, no, you're right. That little voice in our head is a really, it's just a mean voice.
do you think it's from like, do you think it's from your family members, your friends, your, like, where does that come from? Because for me, I don't remember a time where I didn't have it.
I do not believe that it comes from my family or my friends or anything, because that would be me excusing it, right? Like, oh, it's not my fault that I do this to myself. It's gotta be something else.
I mean, just to lean into it though. Like, where do you think the initial thought comes from.
Well, I think some people are harder on themselves than others.
Definitely.
I think some people's brains. I know plenty of people who talk about they don't have racing thoughts all the time.
Yeah, I've talked to a couple too, and
I'm like, I don't know what that looks like, right?
yeah.
So for people such as ourselves that have the racing thoughts, if we look at it like the thoughts are always doing this, then it's probably going to be really easy for some of these to start
Changing direction.
yeah, changing direction, right?
Yeah.
The string theory.
Okay, yeah.
There's millions of strings hanging from the ceiling. I'm grabbing the one that I hope is the right one. That means a lot of times I'm going to grab the one that's the wrong one in order to make sure I find the right one.
Mm-hmm.
And a really easy thing to do, because I'm not going to do this to others, is to give myself a hard time. I think that's like default mode, right?
Yeah, I would say so. I think part of it is you not only questioning yourself, but then like seeing a mold of the people around you,
Yeah.
and then being like, that's what I'm shooting for. And then now you have this voice in your head that's like, you want that mold, right? Well, what about this? What about, dude, your nipples are hairy, bro. Like, that doesn't fit the mold.
Yeah.
Yeah, like something stupid like that.
Well, no, and I don't. We tell people in the program, like when you're looking for a sponsor, the easy way to decide on who it is you want to sponsor you is, I want what that person has. Now, that gets misconstrued. We're not saying I want that person's life, right? I want their hot wife. I want their attractive boyfriend. I want their nice car. I want their great house. No, silly. How do they appear to be okay with themselves?
yeah.
Yeah. Do they sound like they have confidence? Yeah. Do they sound like they're not uncomfortable in their own skin? Yeah. Okay, that's what you want. Mm-hmm. So to go back to what you said, I think it's okay to want what somebody has from an attitude perspective and from a comfortability perspective. Where we lose sight of it is we start adding on all the other stuff. Like, I want all the add-ons, right? Well, why can't it just be that I want what they have, period? Why do I have to also want all of these other things? And that's something that I struggle with, and I try and do that. So we're going to give ourselves a hard time if we perceive that we're not accomplishing all of the add-ons, when what it is we're actually trying to achieve is right there the entire time. It's hard to find contentment and to be okay with contentment.
Yeah, it really is.
But that's what we're striving for, right? That's a daily,
absolutely.
That's a daily thing, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'll let you know when I find it.
Same. You're the first one I'm calling again.
Right?
Matt?
Be like, hey.
Guess what I found in a bag?
Yeah, amazingly. Along with the chainsaw.
Oh my God.
And some sakura.
Okay. Another thing that I wanted to touch on
is my inability to drink water without spilling on myself.
Hey, we all do that. So, okay. One thing that has perplexed me
Ooh, I like that word.
is when I started helping myself, right? Like just trying to unpack everything that needs to not change, but just be better. Just like heighten the good stuff, take down the bad. While I was kind of in that mindset, it always came to my thought process is like, how can you help the people that are around you when you yourself need help?
Is that the question, or was there more?
That's it.
Okay. I love this one. Balance is key, right? If I'm overly concerned with making sure everyone else is okay, I'm probably going to lose sight of the fact that if I'm not okay, I can't help others be okay. From a sobriety perspective, the big book talks about, so step 12 of the 12 steps is carrying the message, trying to help another person who's got an addiction or an alcoholism problem. How can I be of service to them? It is easy to become only that and forget that I need to work on myself all the time. Going back to what we talked about earlier, okay, I've plateaued, I'm good, I got this, I don't have to do any more work, is a very, very dangerous place to be. Whether it be work, whether it be relationship, whether it be, right? Let's take relationships as an example. My parents, who've been married for like 58 years, I think that's right, will tell you they didn't get to 58 years because 3 years into it, they're like, we're good, we don't have to do any work. That's a daily thing. So, like you're talking about, how can I be of assistance to others? I can continue to work on myself, and that's how I can be of help to others. The second I stop trying to better myself, whatever that looks like, I'm not trying to define what bettering yourself looks like. I think there's a lot of ways to look at that. If you like to pray, well, then you probably should pray every day, not just whenever you feel like you need God's help. You should probably take the time to thank him for all the wonderful bounty that he has provided you with and that he continues to provide you with. If religion is not your thing, nothing wrong with that, but do you work out? Do you eat healthy? Those kinds of things. How do you stay right with yourself? Well, that's a daily thing. Or it should be a daily thing.
Hopefully.
And if I'm not trying to work on making myself better, how can I then expect that I'll be able to help anybody else? So where it becomes a problem is I say, I don't need to work on myself today, but I'm really going to help Caleb out. Caleb needs my help. I can tell he's struggling. Let me go full tilt boogie on helping Caleb out. And so this entire time that I'm telling you all these things which maybe are helpful, let's hope I'm telling you stuff that's helpful, I'm not actually applying any of those things to myself.
Okay.
Because I am achieving something by helping you out.
Gotcha.
And then
Stroking
that makes me feel really good about myself because I helped you feel better about yourself.
So what you're saying is don't be an unhealthy doctor.
Bingo.
Practice what you preach.
Absolutely.
Let's say I have weight issues. Would I want advice from somebody that also has weight issues and has not done anything about it. I know that's a little touchy.
No, okay, here's another one. If I have an issue with being patient, if I go 0 to 100 really fast at the smallest thing, do I really have the right to turn around and tell somebody else, you could really work on your patience? Have you ever thought about maybe just taking a step back, like think before responding?
I've met people like that too.
Right. But that's a funny one, and we laugh, but that's all day. I need you to do better. You need to show up better in this relationship.
And you're like,
but I'm never here.
yeah.
Babe, every time I need you, you're not available. Well, every time I need you, you're not available. This isn't about me, babe. We're talking about you.
Yeah.
And then it starts to get muddy too, because, well, I want to be helpful. And what started as I want to be helpful probably very easily morphs into this way we don't have to deal with me. Right? It started off with the greatest intentions. I want to be helpful. I want to go out there and help people be better. And then it quickly becomes, if I'm helping other people feel better, I don't have to worry about me being better.
Yes.
And that's, wow, how did I get here? Letting the days go by, watch the water, how did I get here? Yeah.
No, that's exactly, that was in my head, and you're just like, yeah, this. And I'm like, yeah, that's it.
So, probably the easiest thing to say is we get a chance to work on ourselves every day. Do we choose to do that or not? That's a decision only you and I can make for ourselves.
I try to make that decision.
I do too.
Every day.
Sometimes
There are some days where I'm like, okay, maybe a little time on the couch.
Some days are better than others.
Yeah.
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 But if we don't realize that we still have growing to do, then we're stagnant. So therefore, constant action is beneficial to us. Everyone can define what action looks like for themselves.
Yeah.
Just don't become stagnant.
That's my only goal in this life. Don't be a rock.
Be a rock star.
Be a rock star. TM.
Those shirts are going to be available next week.
Go on my website.
It's next to the pictures of me rock climbing.
This podcast is brought to you by Rockstars Rock Climbing. Who are you?
Get out there, grab that bag, grab that rock, grab that chainsaw.
That's it.
Done.
TM. All right.
Write that down.
So, is religion important to people that need help in their life?
What kind of help do they need?
Let's say they have mental struggles.
Okay.
It's daily, and maybe rely on substances that they shouldn't. Not as far as, I wouldn't say like a drug addict,
Okay.
but let's say that they have vices in their life, like food, sugar, nicotine, caffeine, all the light drugs.
Yeah.
Do you think they need religion to help themselves out of that spot?
I wouldn't use the word need so much as I would say it could be so beneficial. Like, I don't ever feel like it should be you need God. I feel like it should be you want God. Because whatever religion we're talking about, however someone identifies, whatever, I think that brings a structure to their life that might not otherwise exist, as you alluded to. I have all these things that I'm putting in my body or helping assist me with because I'm lacking clarity. And I think that what religion provides is a clarity from the perspective of there's something bigger than me. To super dumb it down, I'm not the center of the universe.
Yeah.
And while I would love to think that I have everything under control, I don't. There's something bigger than me out there that's whether someone feels like something out there yanking the chains or somebody else's plan or whatever. I don't control whether the person driving next to me at 65 miles an hour is going to look at their phone and veer into me. I have no control over that. That's bigger than me. What do I have control over? How I show up every day. Religion is going to teach me and assist me with figuring out how to show up every day in the right way. So I think it is I think the question specifically was, do they need that? I think if they want that, it could be so helpful. Provides a sense of community, provides people in your life that are, for the most part, depending on what religion you're in, want you to be better and want to help you be better and want to provide you with an outlet for discussion or whatever, and can provide you with explanations and let's go specific to the Bible, can provide you with verses that can help you through difficult times and verses that can lift you up and can pull you out of darkness and can remind you that nobody said this was going to be easy. All these really wonderful things that if you don't have that in your life, you're struggling for answers. I think it provides a solid foundation.
Absolutely.
That probably wasn't there before. The only additional thing I would say is just don't use it for the wrong reasons. And sadly, I think there are lots of examples of religion being used for the wrong reasons. And I'm just going to leave it at that because I'm not trying to step on anyone's toes.
No, yeah, I completely agree that the intentions of religion is a very useful tool.
Yes.
Very useful. But just like human nature,
Yeah.
that tool can be misguided and interrupted.
Yep.
With too much human nature.
Yep. No,
Yeah.
that's a perfect way to put it.
Since we're already talking about religion, do you feel that the Bible or other pieces of literature, doesn't need to be Bible specific, do you think those things can be weaponized? If you cherry pick lines and ideas and specific
Absolutely.
tones.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Great example. Let's take the big book, which is the literature that those of us who are in recovery utilize. There's all sorts of amazing stuff in there. Same way with the Bible. But there's an opportunity, if you're not taking the context of what you're reading, for the message to be blurred and to lose sight of what it is that it's trying to say. As there's nothing in our book that says, now that you got sober, life is easy. There's not a single sentence in that book that says anything like that. If anything, it warns you about the potential for it to be more difficult because you don't have your little whoopee to fall back on, right?
Absolutely.
But when the message is portrayed as, now that you got this book, this little line right here says, you'll be rocketed into the fourth dimension. So obviously that means you're good. Well, no. What comes before that is, by following these steps and utilizing these principles and applying these principles to your life and to your interactions with others, you can then be rocketed into the fourth dimension. So you have to do the work. The Bible has so much, the whole thing is absolutely incredible. But if I parcel it out to apply it, I just want these little words right here, and I want to hold on to those little words. Well, what came before that to get to those words? What came after that to follow those words? If I don't examine both of those things, I'm probably going to get the wrong messaging from those couple of words.
Mm-hmm. Now, can those words, let's say there's somebody in your life that they don't lean into religion.
Okay.
Let's say they are, let's say they're just atheist, right? Do you think it's a good idea to try and use the Bible to change the mind of somebody that doesn't believe in the Bible?
I don't think hitting somebody over the head with the Bible, saying, you're atheist, now you're not. Mm-hmm. I don't think it works that way.
Yeah. No,
you have to meet
that.
somebody on their terms, right?
Right. Do you think they're going to respond to the same structure that has been given in like church setting?
Right.
This very rated G, rated everybody, and this I'm going to say La La Land.
Okay.
It's not to step on church at all. I'm not stepping on church. But you have to admit they are trying to sell something, which is their religion.
Yeah.
And they want it to seem like everything is perfect with...
Okay, if I may, I think I get where you're trying to go. Back to the question about weaponization of the Bible. If it is not taken as a whole, I could see how it would be presented as a La La Land.
Yeah.
But when it's presented the way it's supposed to be presented, which is the whole thing, the Bible's super dark.
Yes, yeah.
There's lots of darkness in there. There's lots of you're gonna fail a lot. Mm-hmm. this journey is going to be really difficult. Like, there's a lot of that in there. So if I'm honest with somebody about what this looks like, I'm not blowing their
Smoke
skirt
their
up.
ass, yeah.
Right? I'm saying this provides you with a way to live that is not always going to be roses and flowers and sunshine and rays of light and everything. Those things happen, but the other stuff happens as well. I understand very much what you're talking about, presenting a
show.
Look at this. This is
Yeah.
wonderful.
A
But
product.
yeah.
It feels like a product.
and I think for me that's why when a pastor is honest about what's in the Bible, that resonates. And if you find somebody who's completely forthright and honest about it, it's not a show.
Yeah, yeah. I
It's-
agree.
Right? The Big Book does the same thing. It doesn't say, Kumbaya, everybody's happy because we're sober. It says, your life is going to be really difficult now that you've made this decision. But we're going to show you how you can be successful by just being a good person. And if you do the things we've laid out in front of you, that's how you can start to be a good person, and you can make this work. It's gonna be tough. Anybody who sells you the idea that if you start doing this, everything gets wonderful is completely misrepresentative. And it always makes me sad when I feel like, especially for me, Christianity is presented as a cure-all.
Yeah,
And if you just go along with us,
It's
you don't have anything to worry about.
it's the self-help books for me
Right.
that, don't get me wrong, everything in there is it's a great way to really come out of what you're struggling with, what
Sure.
you've been struggling with, PTSD, all of that. But to preach the way that not only are you telling somebody how to live their life,
Yeah.
which I already kind of have a problem with that, but I know you're not supposed to apply everything specifically to your life and change your life the exact way that the book is.
Right.
I get that. But this, like, again, like, social media has the tone of, I'm better than you. Look at me.
Yeah.
I get that with religion. Sorry, not religion. I get that with people
Right.
that are very religious.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
This kind of like wave of like, just do what I do kind of thing. And it's like, you still do things wrong, but you need to admit that.
Yeah.
And a lot of them do.
Yeah.
That's good. But then as soon as they get into topics that they don't know, like to tell somebody that you know exactly what happens after you die is a crazy statement. To say, I don't know, but I think this, that's an amazing statement. I think everybody should follow that. But to tell somebody, no, this is what happens, this is exactly how it goes, it's like, have you died?
Yeah. Well, I think that to your point, positioning it from an this is what I believe is a good introductory way to say, I'm going to tell you, like, again, I'm finding that life once I got sober aligns a lot because the Big Book is very reminiscent of the Bible. But for me to say, hey, you, the way that you stay sober is, and make it a blanket statement, is not helpful.
Mm-hmm.
For me to say, this is how I've stayed sober. This is what I've done. I hope this is helpful to you. Changes that. Because it can't be definitive. Like, I can't tell you that if you do exactly what I did, that you're not going to have a problem. You also can't tell me that if I do exactly what you did in life, like, you can't be like, well, example, I started playing the piano and I really love to play the piano and I'm really good at it. So if you start playing the piano, you're going to be amazing. What if I don't have a musical bone in my body?
Mm-hmm.
I might be able to play the piano for a long time and not get really good. So if you say, well, I practiced and, this kind of stuff, then it doesn't make it so if you don't achieve it, you're terrible. With the, I have faith that when I die, this is what's going to happen.
Yeah, yeah. And I think
But
that's a very
I can't
important
tell
thing.
you that you're wrong because you don't. Sorry, let me rephrase that. I'm not going to help you by saying, oh, you're acting the way that you are. Sorry. I don't have the right to judge anybody. I don't. I can say this is what I believe. I can say I have faith in this. But I can't tell you, oh, because you're acting that way. Sorry, dude.
Sorry, bud, you're on the naughty list.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And besides, how is that being helpful to anyone? I want them to want what I have, not be turned off by it because I'm telling them they're a terrible person and they're aligned to an outcome that's terrible. Sorry.
Yeah.
I have enough work to do on myself. I can't be telling other people how to fix themselves too. Which goes back to the previous question you asked about, I need to be helpful to somebody. I need to be supportive. I can't tell them they're right or wrong.
Right. Right. And I think that's very important because to say I don't know to somebody, I think that is way more respectful than being like, no, listen, it's like this. Okay, to your life, it's like that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you can say that. Be like, hey, for me, I think it's like this. But to say I don't know, that is, as soon as I hear somebody go, I don't know, I'm like, I like you. You don't know.
And you can follow up, I don't know, but I think.
Right. Immediately. And
Yeah.
I still have the same feelings. Like, I like you.
Yeah.
You don't know, but you have thoughts and you don't push it.
Yeah.
You don't need to push, think like this. Humans don't do that, man.
Well, and anytime, it's going to be a hard sell if I'm telling you this is what you need to do with your life. Because by our nature, I don't want to be told what to do. Have you thought about is a way different way of positioning?
Even like the tone,
Yeah.
right? Like for a lot of the people that I grew up around, the tone was always, you're a child, you don't know, I know, shut up.
Yeah.
They didn't say that. They didn't have to. I saw it on their face, demeanor, tone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So perspective shift, right? Am I going to question everything I hear? Or am I going to go along with those things that I think are helpful to me and accept it. If every time somebody says something to me, whether it be at work or in life or whatever, and I go, yeah, but what about this? How am I ever going to achieve anything?
Mm-hmm.
If I can then say, I never thought about it like that. Let me think about it. Not let me question it.
Yeah, yeah.
Let me think about it.
Yes.
Then that gives me a chance to come to my own conclusions. Maybe my conclusion ends up being different than the conclusion you have, which is fine. But if I don't do my due diligence and think about it, I'm not going to be able to come to a conclusion.
Mm-hmm.
Sadly, because it's been that big old elephant in the room. Politics. And I'll make it very quick. I need to be able to discuss with you if we don't have the same leanings, let's leave it at that. I still need to be able to discuss with you and ask you why you feel this way about this thing. And you need to be able to hear why I feel this way about this thing. But I cannot tell you if you believe that you are wrong. I've immediately lost anything that you might hear from me after that. I respect your opinion. Mine's a little different. This is how I feel. Is a way better conversation than, oh, if you think that, you're crazy. I put my foot down. Once I put my foot down and I've drawn a line of demarcation in the sand, I'm done. So I can't be open to hearing anything. I can't tell you how many times in life it's been like, oh, after the fact, right?
Right. You're at home on the toilet and you're like, oh my God.
Yeah. Or like a lot of times with something mom and dad told me, and at the time I was like, whatever. 10 years later, 15 years later, oh man, that's what they meant, right? But I was so closed off to the possibility that they were saying something that might be helpful to me that I completely didn't gain anything out of that interaction for a long time. And then when it did dawn on me, it's like, my goodness, well, it's not going to do me any good to be like, 15 years I lost.
Yeah, no, you got to.
But it is going to be cool to go, okay, cool, now that I know that,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think that was a very long-winded, my apologies, way of saying people have to be allowed to come to their own conclusions. I can't tell you how to think and I can't tell you how to believe. But I can talk with you. And if you reach that conclusion, maybe I can help you further along the way. I can't make you sober. But if you decide to get sober and you want some help with the next part of the journey, I'm happy to help. At the end of the day, I don't have any control over that decision that you made.
Absolutely.
I also don't have any control over whether I'm going to help keep you sober.
Absolutely.
I can just be supportive.
And to the point of politics.
Yeah.
I know it's touchy nowadays.
Touchy.
It's hard to talk to some people because I'm not really invested in politics.
Right.
Right? I don't wake up and look at what happened overnight. I don't care. Give me somebody that I believe has good intentions, is smart,
Yeah.
for one. That helps. And somebody that isn't, I don't know, an elderly man like Trump or Biden.
Yeah.
I don't want either of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I heard Biden dropped out. That's cool. I think Trump should drop out too. Like it's. I think it's a little over for. I think America is kind of done with the whole
Old white guy thing.
old white guy thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. That I didn't want to say that, but yeah.
I think that's what it boils down to.
I think we're good. I don't think we need that.
I think we've had a long enough time of old white guys running the country.
Yeah, I think let's switch it up a little.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not just the age. You can be old and still have a full understanding of what's going on around you, understanding of what's happening in people's lives. Yeah. But it seems like a lot of politicians don't realize what technology is at anybody's disposal.
Yeah.
And how it can be utilized to manipulate people.
Yeah.
Even though they're doing it with campaigning. You know what I mean? Like they're using advertisements, whatever. But I don't think they have a full scope of what people are capable of.
I also don't feel that I feel that there is a disconnect. You are in Washington. You're predominantly surrounded by a bunch of people you put around yourself on purpose because they will agree with you. Those people that you've put around yourself do not represent the lion's share of the population of this country. So I don't think it's possible, regardless. I'm not talking blue, red, regardless. It is not possible to understand what a lowly person like myself, who's just trying to make it in the world, I don't have all this extra money to throw around on whatever. I don't have any of that. I'm just trying to make a living and trying to be the best version of myself. The person who's up in the ivory tower has no idea what my actual day-to-day concerns are. Mm-hmm. But I understand that, and I don't hold that against them.
No.
But it also makes me very wary of trying to vote and think that anyone coming in who's been doing those things for as long as generally the people who are in a position to get elected for president or whatever have been doing those things, they have every day been removed further and further and further from what it is to be a quote unquote normal American. I'm not talking color, I'm not talking race, I'm not talking, just a normal American and what that looks like on a day-to-day basis. What are my concerns? I don't think they understand what I'm actually concerned about. Mm-hmm.
Well, a majority of people nowadays, the only concern that I think takes up the most space in their heads is just paying rent, like just making money.
Can I put food on my table?
That's it.
Can I keep a roof over my head?
I think a majority of people are kind of just in that boat, and to believe that there's a politician out there that shares that mindset with you and all of your beliefs and all of your, anyway.
Well, and I just, again, I'll say it makes me sad that when I vote, I am voting from the perspective of who is going to do the least amount of harm during their time in power. I'm not voting on the person I think is going to be the best one, because I don't believe that there's someone, oh, they're so amazing. I don't believe that way. I feel like, well, comparatively speaking, this one seems the lesser of two evils, and that's how I'm going to choose. And I think whether people would be upfront and honest about it or not, a lot of people feel the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Not who's going to take us to glory, who's not going to run the train off the tracks in the fastest amount of time. Which is why
Yeah.
it's incumbent on us to just be the best versions of ourselves we can be and not get bogged down in the minutia of that. Because if I wake up and every day I read all the stuff from a political standpoint, it's going to make me not want to get out of bed.
Not only that, but to only read what has been presented to you because you're Democrat, because you're Republican.
Mm-hmm.
You watch the outlets that are Democrat.
Align with your, yeah.
Yeah. Instead of getting a full scope, you're kind of painting yourself into a corner and then trying to make a decision.
Yep.
Well, the decision's already made. You're in the corner.
Yeah.
There's no going back.
Yeah.
And I think that social media can be the only tool that will paint you into the corner.
Yeah.
The algorithms, it's too good.
They
good.
assist with, they're providing the paint, they're providing the corner. All you need to do
And
is show up.
It's always accessible.
Yeah.
You can always look at what's happening.
I can get that. I can get the paint all day, every day.
Yeah.
And that corner is just waiting for me to paint myself into it.
Yeah. There's like shoe prints already there for you.
Yeah.
And then the algorithm's like, you're going to want to be in that corner.
Yep.
That's crazy.
That's life.
Okay. Moving on. Let's get these politics out of here. All right. So let's end it on something light.
Oh, okay.
Let's
a
go-
souffle,
Well, yes, a creme brulee.
a flan.
Do you have any advice or even like some perspective for people out there that have someone in their life that is losing the fight with addiction, you know, someone who's maybe in and out of treatment, in and out of jail, just cannot get their life together? Is there some advice or perspective that you can give them to help? I know that's a kind of a heavy feat, but
Most of the time you can remove the jail thing because most everybody, whatever's in their past on their record or whatever is a consequence of the need to get those things. I drove drunk and I got pulled over. I got busted with a lot of this stuff. Like all those things are symptomatic of an inability to deal with a problem which is over on this side of the equation. And the best way to try and get somebody moving in the right direction is to let them know that they don't have to give up hope and they don't have to continue to live their life like this, that there's a possibility for something better.
Mm.
And that starts with going all the way back to what we said at the very beginning, not being so hard on yourself.
Mm.
I want you to succeed for you, not for me. It doesn't matter what I think, but it does matter what you think. Do you want the best for yourself? If so, let's do this. But I can't make you feel that way. You have to feel that way.
do you think some people don't have the mindset or the tools to decide to be sober? Because it's kind of a decision, you know,
Yeah.
to really give up the coping, right? To say to yourself, this doesn't work. Gotta try something else. Do you think there's people out there that, I don't want to say it's impossible, but it's near impossible to get there, to get to that mindset?
Again, it comes down to the person.
Yeah.
If I think anybody can make the decision if that's what they really want.
Mm-hmm.
The key is that what you really want? Right? Like for some people, I love this life. Why would I want to change it?
I've met a lot of people like that
and
too.
there's people out there who don't fall 8 floors and then down to the 4th basement floor
Yeah.
in order to realize I need to change something. Some people are going along and everything's fine, per se.
Right.
Air quotes, right?
Yeah,
Whatever fine looks like. And so they don't feel the need to change. So why would I need to get sober? Everything's great. Is it though? I mean, is it really great?
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah. Got the house, I got the car, got the girl, got the kids,
Yeah.
got the house.
Yeah, it's easy to.
But what does that look like, really?
Mm.
And again, that's how honest are you willing to be with yourself?
Yeah. Exactly.
If you're willing to look in the mirror and be like, I don't like what I see, then the narrative can start to change. How do I fix the fact that I don't like what I see? But if you're looking in that mirror with these glasses on that change what it is you're reflecting, why would you ever need to change? I was that guy looking in the mirror for a long time. I don't have anything to change.
I think most people, even sober people in this life, they have their own glasses that I think help you get through the toughest times of your life. Sometimes you need those glasses.
Well, yeah, for sure.
But
the glasses themselves can be a coping mechanism,
yes.
right? And of course, all of this is not for me to suggest that if only everybody would get sober. That would be a silly statement for me to make.
Yeah.
Because not everybody has the same problem that I have. Some people are able to say stop, and they're just fine. I didn't happen to be one of those people. So I think from that perspective, it's not, can I be brutally honest with myself?
That's it.
If I want to be able to ask myself a question at the end of the day, how did I show up today? And I want to be honest with myself about how I showed up, that's a great start.
So family members or friends that are kind of sidelined to this behavior, how can they help instead of enable the behavior?
So like you're saying, if you happen to have a friend that you think has an issue, how can you be supportive?
How can you show that you're there for them at any time? You're there for them without enabling that behavior.
Boundaries. Right? I mean, very simply, if you're going to continue to act like this, then I'm not going to be able to spend time with you.
Yeah, I'm not comfortable spending
Well,
time.
what are you talking about? Well, I'm talking about I don't like the way that you act in this kind of capacity, and so I don't want to be around that. I love you to death, but I'm not going to subject my kids to that, or I'm not going to be around that. I'm not going to subject myself to that. I don't like the way you show up for so-and-so. I don't like the way you treat so-and-so, and I don't want to be a part of that.
So be open
Yeah.
as much as you can.
Be as honest as you can be.
Yeah.
Honesty is always going to be... Okay. Sorry, before I... Most of the time,
Yeah.
being rigorously honest is going to be the best option. But that's a difficult thing too, right? When's the right time to be brutally honest with somebody? But I like the way you put that about not enabling. Or you're enabling somebody if you allow them to continue to act in a manner that's not okay and you don't say anything. That I feel like is enabling. I know little Timmy has a problem. I'm positive of it. But I don't really want to make Timmy uncomfortable, so I'm not going to bring it to Timmy's attention that I'm very uncomfortable with it. Because then Timmy's, and when you bring it to Timmy's attention, Timmy might not be happy. But at least you were honest and you set the boundary where I'm not okay with this. However they respond to that,
Right, yeah, exactly.
I don't have any control over.
Right.
But if I'm not being honest with them, then I'm enabling them because I'm...
So what you're saying is that it's going to be uncomfortable to help them.
Yeah.
And enabling is comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. I think confrontation and conflict stinks. We don't like it.
Yeah, it sucks so bad.
It does. But if I don't cross that bridge when I come to it, I'm not helping anybody else change, and I'm not changing myself. Because also the enabling is I'm enabling myself. If I say, I don't want to have that tough conversation, I'm enabling myself.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's not just about, I might be enabling somebody else. I'm not being honest with myself. Wow. God, Caleb, I got to text you, dude. I can't believe so-and-so said that to me. Well, did you say that to them? Well, no, I don't really want to say that to them. Okay, well, then why are they going to change?
Yeah.
And if I'm not willing to if I'm not willing to have the tough conversation, I better not complain about it. Back to our thing about be careful who I listen to. If I'm listening to somebody that's telling me one thing and acting a completely different way, I'm not benefiting myself. And if I'm telling you how to live your life, and I'm telling you a bunch of stuff that I don't do, I'm enabling myself because I'm not changing my behavior.
So you're saying we should live life uncomfortably.
Absolutely.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. Because it feels like today, now more than ever, humans are trying to have the easiest, most comfortable time.
Yes.
Like my bed, how I cook, how I clean, how I drive, how I work, everything is so easy, comfortable, free of struggle. So you're saying we should live uncomfortably?
The most beneficial lessons I've ever learned in my life came from being supremely uncomfortable. I can read a book and learn facts. Lessons about myself that I learned came from being in a situation that I really hated. The people that I've come into contact with who are like, yeah, going to jail was the greatest thing that ever happened to me. Well, that sucks. That's really uncomfortable. But that was the way they learned the lesson.
Yeah, kind of like it's an eye-opening experience.
Yes.
Even the smallest uncomfortable moments can really kind of flick you in the face. Like, hey,
Sure.
there's a problem here.
That interaction with that guest was really uncomfortable. Okay, but I handled it to the best of my ability. I really didn't like it. Ugh. Okay, but how did I show up? Well, I didn't yell. I didn't, I sat there and took it. Okay, well that was really, but then if somebody comes up or multiple people come up and go, oh my gosh, I can't believe you were so calm under pressure. You did so good. Maybe that's beneficial. Maybe my uncomfortability is beneficial to somebody else who saw that could be handled in a certain way. Maybe, having to be honest with somebody about something that I did and they're going, I didn't even notice. Well, but it was uncomfortable for me to bring it to your attention, and I didn't like the way that I acted or showed up in that moment. And so I'm going to talk about it. I didn't want to talk about it. And if they go, I don't even know what you're talking about, then I can at least go, okay, well, cool. Well, they didn't even know what I was talking about. But if I'd been like, well, hopefully they didn't know what I was talking about, so I don't need to say anything about it because it'll be just fine. And maybe if I act like it didn't even happen, it'll just go away.
That. So growing up, my family would act like things wouldn't happen. If somebody got mad and let's say me and my brother had a fight, we're going blow for blow, hitting each other, yelling, screaming, fuck yeah, like going all out. A couple hours later, wouldn't talk about it, wouldn't bring it up.
Didn't even happen.
Nope. We're just out there, chilling, watching TV now. Just another Wednesday night. And I think that kind of messed me up for relationships because I didn't know that
That's not healthy.
You're supposed to talk about it.
That's not healthy.
100% of the time,
Yeah.
talk about it. Because you being on the same page as me is going to benefit tomorrow.
Completely.
Let's same page it.
Yeah.
Let's get uncomfortable. Stop enabling. Let's get uncomfortable. Get all of our perspectives out there.
Yeah.
That way we can move the F on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you on the same page? TM.
TM. Get uncomfortable.
TM.
Be the best in the most uncomfortable situation.
TM. All this merch is going to be available in a couple of weeks.
Get ready. Brought to you by Rock Climbing. No.
Right, Rockstar Rock Climbing. No, that's... If I can persuade myself to walk through the difficulty by getting myself to realize that what's on the other side will only be beneficial. I might not know how at the time. If there's the doorway and it reads uncomfortable, and I'm willing to open the door and walk through the doorway, more than likely what's on the other side is going to be really helpful. I don't know what's on the other side, but if I don't ever walk through the door, how am I going to find what's on the other side? I need to constantly be going through the door to get to what's on the other side.
Or else you end up in like this paradox of like never opening
any doors.
Any door.
I'm just in a really long hallway that's got a bunch of doors, and I don't really want to open any of them, so I'm just going to stay in this hallway.
It's comfortable.
Right.
You got a sweater on, slippers, and sweatpants, and you're like, nobody's home.
No, I'm good. Nobody's going to answer anyway.
Yeah.
We don't grow if we don't learn, and we don't learn if we don't experience. life is not just a bundle of good experiences. Life is a bundle of all experiences.
That's good. I like that.
TM.
TM. Trademark. You know, I read this, it was some article that somebody posted. It was a survey.
Mm.
They asked a bunch of guys, all ages, have you ever approached a woman and asked them on a date in a social setting, you know, at work,
Yeah.
hobbies, going to the store? 45% of 18 to 25-year-olds
Said no.
have never asked a woman on a date in person. Ever. That's a lot.
Well, why would I need to ask you out on a date? I just need to swipe left or swipe right.
I know, but 45. I thought maybe it would be like 20%, 15%, you know, like.
It goes back to you and I have talked about the inability to communicate. Asking somebody out on a date requires the ability to talk to them.
Yeah, not only that, but like approach.
Yeah.
It's the approach.
Yeah.
It's the pep talk. That's what's so important.
Well, and one of the things that's a slippery slope with like the alcohol and everything is the explanation to yourself.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be comfortable doing this in just sober frame of mind. If I lube up the gears a little bit, I'll be a lot more apt to
Liquid courage.
Liquid courage. With the realization failing to register that the way that, okay, so the liquid courage in and of itself maybe that's great. Now you can build up the courage to talk to a girl. But that's not actually who you are, because you have overemphasized an aspect of your personality by plying it with with booze and drugs. So whatever it is that you're being with this person is not actually the real you. So then when it comes down to interacting with them on a sober basis, you're not the same person unless you're drunk all the time or high all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then we wonder why those relationships don't last. Well, they're not built on a solid foundation. They're built on a mask.
There you go. Yeah.
Yes, on a completely different note. When you are making your music, do you go from feel and see where that leads you and then try and put lyrics to that? Or do you take the way that you feel, which inspires lyrics, and then try and match something to the lyrics?
So both.
Okay.
For me, my favorite one is creating and matching lyrics.
Okay.
But if you want an intentional song, let's say I wrote the lyrics first. Well, now you need to understand that the key that you choose is going to be the overall tone. And then the arrangement. So let's say I bring in a 12 string for a section of it, or just drums on a section of it. Really, you're tailoring what you hear and what you feel to the lyrics. And then what you see, hear, and feel, you're going to tailor that to the overall arrangement.
Right.
But my favorite one, and will always be, is just creating and then lyrics. It's a lot of work to make a song into what you feel is right if you have lyrics first.
Gotcha.
So like, let's say you have a story,
Right.
right? You wrote out like a whole story. To add something to that, you have to really identify what's happening and how that thing that is happening has to identify this music.
Mm.
So for me, it's easier to just create and then go to lyrics, but to be a really intentional musician, writer, artist, I think it's very important to be able to write a whole song out and then hop on the piano, hop on a guitar, and really listen to what you wrote
And make it work.
and make it
accordingly.
happen.
Yeah, I wondered that because, to your point, it seems like it would be easier to write the lyrics off of the feel of what, like, so you're strumming around on the guitar and you play something, you're like, ooh, I really like that. And then you kind of add to it and you're like, man, I really like that. How does this make me feel? Okay, I'm going to write lyrics based on how the music makes me feel.
That's my favorite way.
Whereas to do it backwards is, these are the lyrics which describe how I feel. How do I come up with something that captures what I feel? A, B, or maybe even this is A and that's B. How do I make the lyrics match to what it is? Yeah, it seems like doing the music first is
That's my favorite way.
okay.
Only because usually I'll write like a riff that really, makes you feel a certain way.
Mm.
But then you can't write lyrics. Let's say you can't write lyrics to it. You have, an idea of what you want, but now you're kind of stuck. But if you have all the lyrics and then go and perform for those lyrics,
Yeah.
I think that's more of a music standpoint of it.
Okay.
The just creation standpoint is created music, created lyrics, created the story. I think a real musician can do both.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think a real musician can do both, but my favorite is still the creating. The improvisation of just like, that wasn't here a second ago and I made it happen.
Right.
Yeah.
The reason it made me think of that was, conversely, you're not going to have music for a movie and then write the scene. The music has to come
Oh, yeah.
based on how the scene makes you feel.
The
So
shot.
it made me think, okay, well, how do the lyrics make me feel? And I'm going to write something for that. But that seems really easy, but I think it's got to be super difficult.
And that's why I think music will never be out of style.
Yeah.
Like it will never be in a world where music doesn't exist, because it really is lightning in a bottle when it happens right, when everything just pieces together. And of course, music theory helps that. If you don't know what key you're in, yeah, you're going to have a problem. But it doesn't mean you can't make music. It just means that you have some learning to do.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And each key, let's say I'm playing D major, right? It has this kind of like more of a lighter feeling to it. But if my lyrics are kind of sad, or like the tone of it is supposed to be more struggle, kind of like an internal fight. Well, let's put that to D minor. Let's listen to that fight, instead of just being like, everything's awesome, light and great, but my thoughts are dark. And people are really good at making light music into kind of a dark tone.
Yeah.
But for me, I just go straight to it. I'm like, well, if it's dark, let's get a dark chord out of this.
Yeah.
Of course, I'll sprinkle in lighter notes, lighter chords, but that root is going to be the telling chord.
Gotcha. So then, to piggyback on that, would you say then, because I'm fascinated by the process, like easier to put a drum beat to music that you've already come up with, or have you ever done it backwards where it's like, I really like this drum beat. Now, what am I going to layer on top of it?
Yeah, so usually if I'm not being intentional, let's say I'm just in here messing with different tempos. You know, let's say today I feel, you know, kind of a more chill tempo. Maybe I'll put on like a little, like a nice poppy, kind of slower drum, and I'll just kind of noodle around. Really, that's for warm up. I'll do that. And then I pivot.
Okay.
So like, okay, so I like that drum style. What do I want with that drum style then?
Okay.
So you kind of like shift out of practice mode. Perspective. Yeah. So you shift out of that like warm up process of
Right.
like, oh, what's happening right now? Let's do something else. Let's do something else. I like that one. That's energetic, you know? Like maybe you started slow and you're like, screw it, double time it.
Yeah.
You know, so warm-up process just gets that flow going of like, where's this going?
And then you can more, so like when you're warming up, you don't have your glasses on. And when you put the glasses on, you're like, all right, this is what I want to do.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. That's a really good way to put it.
Okay.
Yeah, with those glasses, you can see like, okay, I definitely want this. Get rid of that. Definitely want this. Keep pushing that. Really, I think drums are just the engine of music.
Okay.
With you could change the drums to your favorite song, and it's not going to be your favorite song anymore.
Oh yeah. No, that makes complete sense.
Yeah.
Bass line, I believe,
Bassline
fits into that category
and
as well.
drums. That's
Yeah.
music. That's music. Piano, guitar, sure, that helps. Bassline and drums, the roots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, would you define, or let me see, would you say that your music, like the genesis of your music was initially you did it for one, I feel like, just based on my conversations with you, that your interest in music began with one thing in mind and has metamorphosed into something completely different. Like, for example, it started off either scratching an itch or something like that, something to look into. And as you poured more of yourself and your heart and your soul into it, it started to develop the ability to do much grander things than it was initially doing. So as your understanding of it was enhanced and you understood how you could manipulate things to accomplish emotions and senses and stuff like that, now music has become an ability to be not only cathartic, which I believe it definitely provides, but also another avenue to express yourself and perhaps express things that maybe you wouldn't necessarily feel comfortable expressing verbally or otherwise.
Yeah, definitely. So starting out, piano was the first instrument that I really I started taking piano lessons, but I hated them.
Mm.
Absolutely hated them. There's something about, for me, this is just personal, something about playing other people's music bored me to tears. Because it didn't feel like an expression.
Right.
This is supposed to be an outlet. Piano is one of the most beautiful instruments that you can play. Of course, you have to learn how to play. So I get why the lessons were there. But I needed somebody there to be like, hey, so this is how you play other people's music. This is how you create your own.
Yeah.
So I didn't see the scales as a fodder to a song.
Right.
I saw scales as practice. I saw practice as like
I don't want to do it.
boring,
Yeah.
stupid. And so I walked away for a good time and picked up guitar. Didn't take lessons. I just wanted to express
Mm.
myself. And that outlet, I think, saved my mentality
Okay.
a lot with growing up with my family. But then I was like, why am I playing? Like, I played in a couple like jam bands.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is kind of stupid, man. I hate this. Because again, you can't create your own music. You're relying on other people to create a sound.
Yeah.
And my brother was a drummer. He would play just basic rock songs. You know, maybe some Avenged Sevenfold once in a while, getting the double kick going. Da, da, da,
Yeah.
da, da, da. And I would go in and I would try and play with him. Just jam.
Yeah.
Like I would hear him doing a little riff and I'm like, you know, I bring my this amp in there and I'd power chord, bah, bah, keep the tempo going, bah. And then he kind of just was like, no, like I'm okay. You don't need to play here. Like it would be like 10 minutes of playing.
Yeah.
So I was like, why? Okay, I don't know what to do here. So I kind of walked away from guitar.
Okay.
I was like, all right, I guess that's not my outlet. So then I got into like skating, longboarding, stuff like that, like outside stuff that I hope every kid gets to experience. And then one day I was like, all right, let me hop back on guitar and use this as an expression.
Yeah.
I don't use my emotions. I'm not good at it. So let me use my guitar. Started writing some songs, started writing some lyrics down. Was really good. Like really, it was like a therapy session for myself. And I loved that. I loved that I could take care of myself through an instrument. That's one of the best tools I've learned. And then a year before I moved to Austin, somebody was talking about music production, like this and this and that. And I've always wanted to score movies. That's been in the back of my mind since I think I was like 15. I was
Okay.
like, oh, I'd love to do that.
Yeah.
But it wasn't reality. Like in my head, I was like, I could never do that. And then I was like, you know what, man? I'm done working bullshit jobs. I'm done talking to people the way that a corporation wants me to talk to you. I want to communicate. I don't want to tell you how to do things.
Yeah.
I want to show you how to do your own thing.
Yeah.
And I think music is that expression. I feel like if you don't know who you are, pick up an instrument. You're going to learn something, and it's a lot of time it's not good.
Mm.
Something's going to come out of your head, emotion is going to come up, and it's going to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So moving here, this was like my clean slate of I'm retired from corporations, managers, leaders, all that stuff. Since high school, I've been in charge at work. I'm done. I can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
It exhausts me. I drink a lot when I have to tell people what to do. So, ever since music production entered my life,
Yeah.
my mindset is amazing. My emotions are amazing. My life with Alex, it's amazing.
Yeah.
She's still trying to figure out what she's doing with everything, but again, that's her journey. Cool. This has been a mountain to climb. I'm still halfway up that mountain, but I love every second of it.
Yeah.
I don't think I could ever go back to not doing music. I think it would really hurt my head.
Well, because it makes me think of like we talked about with being uncomfortable. And to me, that kind of defines what music provides, right? Whether what I'm dealing with is uncomfortable and I've got to figure out a way to express myself, like you alluded to, through the guitar, through the piano or whatever. From that difficulty comes the greatest expression, right? Like if somebody's life is pretty fantastic, they don't have any cares in the world, which of course is a complete fallacy, but let's just say for the sake of arguing,
Right.
all they're going to make is going to be one type of sound of music.
Yeah. Yeah.
La 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 la, right? And
Like
there's
a dog,
there's
like a
no categories, there's no anything. And then I think part of that, so you would ask the question about do you think great minds, like experimenting and everything, I feel like great musicians have to experience life in the full
Yeah.
to really pull everything they're capable of out of them. You can look at an artist's au revoir of music and be like, oh yeah, they were probably a little low when they did this. Mm-hmm. This song, they were definitely feeling really
They're
good.
on something. Yeah.
Right. But you see that the differences in kind of the thing. And that goes back to exactly what you said. That's your way of expression, and that's the way for you to get things out, right? Music as therapy, I think, is probably not nearly relied upon enough from a way that it can allow you to find things out about yourself that maybe you don't want to talk about.
Or can't. Like,
Yeah.
for me, I was pretty nonverbal around my family. And then outside of the home, I would use jokes for, cope.
Yeah.
I would cope with jokes. If something crazy happened, I would be like, insert joke here. And then music was kind of like the way of taking every emotion and every word that I muted, and I was able to throw it up
Yep.
immediately. Just be like, with one chord, just be like, blah. This
Blah,
and this
blah,
and this.
blah,
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 blah, blah,
blah, blah.
blah. My new album, blah. But yeah, I don't know where I would be without instruments.
Mm.
That's for sure. It'd be a weird spot. I'd probably be, in all reality, an ETL of Target, and I'd drink way too much alcohol
Yeah.
every night. I think that
As
would be
seems to be the case. Looks like a duck.
Yeah.
Walks like a duck.
probably a duck.
Probably a duck.
So, yeah, this is
Well-
this is me, I guess.
See,
I
and
finally
that-
found it.
That speaks to the uncomfortability of it, right? Like, okay. The realization of what uncomfortable, how that's defined. And the reason I say that, I could become an ETL. I'm going to make bank.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but am I going to be happy? Or I'm just going to be able to come in and do my job. I ain't got to worry about all that stuff. And I get to express myself in beautiful, wondrous ways that allow me to feel 1,000,000% more fulfilled than I ever would have felt fulfilled that way.
Yes.
And that's when sort of the aura of somebody comes in. You can tell when you're around somebody, okay, I'm not going to talk to them today.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Oh
I'm going to stay away from them for like the next 3 days because they're feeling some sort of way.
Yeah.
Versus, man, how are you doing today? My goodness, that smile, like, all right for you. Yeah, I'm having a great day. I can tell. I can
the
tell.
movements. It's the
I want to be around that.
yeah.
Sign me up for that.
I've always been very good of judging if somebody has a good just mindset in
Yeah.
general
Yeah.
about today, their life, things,
Yeah.
comedy, anything, music. Usually I can tell pretty quick. Now, the ones that trip me up are the ones that act one way, but you can't hear their thoughts.
Those people frighten me,
They're
actually.
very good at talking. Like you still get the who is this person? You're
Yeah.
kind of like confused a little bit by the way that they're saying things because you're like, hey, that's a little off, but they're positive about it. So
Yeah.
that's good. But then, yeah, it slowly leaks out.
Yeah,
you
something's
get those,
going on behind the curtain.
you get those little cracks, and you're like, oh, that's you. That's you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you just gave that away.
And then I run away.
yeah. Yeah. Well, you know, the mask thing, right? Like it's easy to fall into the thought that people want my mask when actually people don't want your mask. People want you. But you've convinced yourself, oh, the mask is what they love. The only reason they love the mask is because they've never met you. You're one big fake thing. Yeah, I know, but people love that. Okay, but that's not you. I don't like this conversation.
Yeah.
You know? So,
I mean, that's a great movie by Jim Carrey. That's one of my favorite movies, The Mask.
oh, yeah.
I think everybody can relate to that.
Oh, completely.
And to act like you don't have a mask, that's the scariest. Those people are the ones that you need to run away from.
Well, and, you know, like we talked about, the alcohol's the mask. That the way that he acts when he puts the mask on in the movie is not at all who he actually is.
Yeah.
Liquid courage.
Liquid courage.
Man, you were crazy last night. Really? Yeah, where's that character? What character? Okay, so now I know you're not really that person, you know. But then that becomes who you are. I got to be this person. Well, how do I be this person? Well, I do this all the time. I've got to match that intensity. So going back to why would you use or whatever, I've got to match that intensity.
Mm.
And how do I do that? I supplement it.
Energy.
Mm.
What's the energy?
Yeah, and then somebody later on goes, "Oh my gosh, wow, you're like so different." And you want to be like, "What are you talking about? I'm so different." And then you realize, "Oh, I am so different."
Yeah. Oh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oopsie.
Very thought-provoking stuff. I love it.
Yeah, that was fun. We should probably.
Love it.
I'm sweating now.
I think you're allowed to turn on the AC if you want.
Yeah. We can
Fine.
wrap this up.
He's like, I'm dripping.
Whoa. About like 20 minutes ago, I was like, I should turn on that fan.
Holy Toledo.
Ooh, ah.